Over the last 50 years, we have made serious headway in terms of how we understand diet and nutrition. We know that there are minerals and vitamins that we literally cannot live without. We understand that foods contain different quantities of these vitamins and minerals, and that some foods don't contain many of these at all. We know that a single food, like an orange, when eaten in enough quantity can provide us with sufficient calories in theory, but that to get the full spectrum of necessary-to-life nutrients, we need a variety of foods. Most recently, we've come to understand that the more natural our food, natural as in found in nature, the better for our health. Unfortunately, we have not made the same strides with movement. I propose that movement, like food, is not optional, that you have been receiving signals of movement hunger in response to a movement diet that is very low in terms of quantity and poor in terms of quality, meaning you aren't getting the full spectrum of movement nutrition necessary for human function. Some of these signals could be diseases like osteoporosis, that bad knee or back, frequent headaches, pelvic floor problems, or digestive issues. Chances are you are either lacking movement nutrition entirely or you are eating a ton of movement oranges, meaning you use the same types of exercise moves over and over again and have never reached for the movement equivalent to a kale salad. Maybe you're an exerciser, which is great. I like exercise too, but it's essential that we understand that exercise is not equal to movement. You can list everything the human body does as movement. Snapping your fingers, bicycling, blinking, even getting goosebumps are all examples of movement. But when we talk about movement, as in, have you moved today, we mostly imagine a very limited kind of movement that we refer to as exercise. Your mind currently organizes movement information like this. But you need to reorganize it like this so that exercise is just a small category within movement. This will help you recognize that the movements we do, the ones almost all of us use for exercise, are really just one or two movement foods, apples and oranges, eaten over and over again. I want you to keep exercise and movement separate because there are many movements we wouldn't consider exercise that are essential to the development and maintenance of the body. For example, the way an infant uses its muscles to breastfeed is different from feeding from a bottle, different in ways that end up affecting jaw and face bone formation and eventually processes like tooth eruption, breathing, and swallowing. So the subtle movement of breastfeeding can have a tremendous impact on the health of an adult, but we don't really consider breastfeeding an exercise, do we? This is why it's important to let the notion of exercise as the only kind of movement we need to do for health go. There are so many essential movements and loads created by movements, subtle movements that escape consideration and that most of us are missing, that are never even approached by conventional exercise. There are entire categories of movement missing from the list of recommended exercises for, quote, health. It's vitally important to your health, down to the cellular level, that you use your body in as many ways as you can, for as much of the time as you can. Get a standing desk, walk to work, sit on the floor instead of the couch. Of special importance are those movements that we'd be using a lot were we still living as hunter-gatherers. Walking for miles every day, squatting, climbing, and using our arms for more than just typing on a keyboard. These natural movements, natural to humans for thousands of years, are essential to physical processes like digestion and circulation and even to our DNA's expression. Maybe you are saying, hey, I walk a lot, or I ride my bike every day. But what the latest research shows is that you can be both active and sedentary. If you exercise an hour a day, 7 days a week, your total movement time equals a whopping 420 minutes out of a possible 10,080, or about 4% of all time spent. The rest of the time, the 96% of your weekly minutes, exercisers and non-exercisers alike sit in the same office chair, use the same home furniture, stare at the computer screen with arms and necks frozen, and slap on the same geometry-altering footwear. That's why exercisers, couch potatoes, and people who do a lot of repetitive movement like manual laborers all suffer equally from a long list of what we call the affluent ailments: osteoarthritis, heart disease, pelvic floor disorder, and more. They are getting the same number of joint replacements and taking the same medications because engaging in the limited motions of exercise for a limited time is not going to solve the problems created by our sedentary lifestyles. Our bodies don't need 7 hours of exercise a week. They need more like 8 hours of movement a day, approximately 3,000 minutes a week, which is the average of what historic hunter-gatherers would have engaged in. And for the record, they still took more time to rest than you do. Think about that. The frequency with which hunter-gatherers moved is almost tenfold to ours, and think about what a huge difference 10 times as much movement has when it comes to the strength of a tissue like bone, for example. You are starving your muscles, your bones, and your cells. You need to eat a huge variety of movement nutrients, and you need to eat them way more often. For the sake of your health, for the sake of your life, start moving. Right now.